true runner is anybody who has running shoes on and they're running outside. Just because I don't look a certain way doesn't mean I'm not a runner or an athlete. I train like an athlete, therefore I am an athlete.
Welcome to Running is Cheaper Than Therapy podcast. I am your host, Dr. Wita L. Brown. I inspire and promote movement. I explain how running adds to life from a mental wholeness aspect, how obstacles can be overcome in life to make it to your finish line. Welcome to Running is Cheaper Than Therapy podcast, episode 48. Today, I welcome a clubhouse friend, Sandra Mikulic. She is a plus-size athlete. She is a runner, an ultra runner actually, a triathlete. She started a streak in March of 2018 of running or walking or a combination of both for 5K every day. She continues the streak to this day. The streak changed her life. The streak changed her neuroplasticity and helped heal childhood trauma and anxiety. Her streak was cheaper than therapy. She's run 3 marathons, 20 half marathons, 150K, and completed a triathlon over the past 3 years. She promotes an active lifestyle and empowers people and lets them know that size does not matter. Welcome, Sandra, to the show. Well, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here with you, Wita.
First, I want to say I love your Instagram page. I love your reels and your stories. I feel motivated.
You know, it's funny that you say that because I was having coffee with a friend today and she said, I'm actually annoyed by your motivation.
Really?
And I said to her, I go, you know what? I appreciate your honesty. I said, because I'm annoyed by your thinness. And she goes, oh. And I go, yeah. Like, I've been doing this for 958 days, like my 5 kilometers every day. I go, I haven't lost a pound. It's not that I don't know how. I just haven't. And I go, so if you're annoyed by my motivation, I'm annoyed by your thinness. And she goes, okay, you have a good point. And I said, yeah. Like, what a stupid thing to say. But I do get it. I do get it because sometimes when we see other people do things, it reflects back the things that maybe we wish we were doing and we're not. So then that becomes annoying. And I get it. As much as I did not take that at all the wrong way. I actually felt very grateful that she said that because she trusted me enough to say that. And, I get it. I get it because I was where she was 3 years ago before I started running. So I do get it.
So what made you start running at the age of 43?
Well, I wasn't being chased by anything. We'll rule that out. So I was not born in Canada. I was born in another country and I came here and I didn't speak any English. I was 6 years old and my parents, were immigrants, didn't speak a word of English, and we had a very rough go of things, when we got here. No money, nothing. And so my brother was 4, I was 6. And you can imagine that my parents' first priority was not to build their daughter up so she had good self-esteem, okay? Their first priority was keep a roof over our head, keep food on the table, keep clothes on us. And then every single one of their frustrations and fears and irritabilities and anxiety all bottled up, we became the target of that. Me and my brother growing up like that. And then I had, a lot of anxiety as a teenager, and that's nothing unusual. I think I even developed some sort of learning disability because I was not able to focus in school. I didn't finish university or even college. I was always a hard worker and I always showed enthusiasm in anything that I did. And that kind of got me through life. But I guess, and also after I had my 4 children, I had very bad postpartum to the point where, there were days where I thought I was just going to throw myself out of a moving vehicle. or drive the car off the cliff because I thought it was easier that way. And to make a long story short of why did I start running, I was somebody who never completed things. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you start something, you don't complete it. Aside from my job, like, I go to work because I get paid, I do well at work, but in my personal life, I was never somebody who did something that built my self-esteem, and that something was an event that I completed it. So I was always working out in my basement. Because I had the 4 kids, I didn't really have time to go to a gym. So I would do YouTube videos and I would work out just for my mental health. We ended up buying a used treadmill in 2017. And for that whole winter of 2017, I would walk on the treadmill. Then I started walking fast, and then I was watching my shows on the treadmill. Then I started kind of like jogging and watching the shows. And then March 2018, I turned 43, and I'll never forget this day. I went outside to the park near our house and I just started running.
Mm-hmm.
I just started moving my legs fast. And that day I ran about 7 kilometers. And when I came back, I was like, oh my God, what did I just do? I hadn't run in public outside since grade 10.
Really? Okay. So you just decided to go outside and run.
And move my legs faster than a walking pace.
Yeah.
That's just literally how it happened. And it's so funny, I'll tell you that winter
Mm-hmm.
in my head, there was like all these things brewing and I was not happy with the way that I looked. And I remember taking these pictures. The winter of 2017, 2018, Instagram was like getting really popular. And so people had Instagram pages. And so I created this Instagram page, and I'll tell you, before it was called Big Fit Mom, it was called Elegantly Filled.
Okay.
The reason it was called Elegantly Filled was because I had a cousin who made fun of me every time he'd see me when I was in Croatia. He called
No.
me elegantly filled. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This is how our people talk to each other. It's like, oh, you look like you've gained a few pounds, or oh, you look like you've gained 50 pounds, or it's all about
Yeah.
weight. And
My family used to do the same thing too. You're either too small or you gain too much weight. I mean, can I just be just right sometimes, Can I just be, or can I just be, hey, Weeda, how you doing?
you know
Good
what
to
I'm
see you.
talking about. Yeah, no. God forbid somebody asks you, how are you doing, without a clause
Yeah.
of weight in there or something to do with your appearance. And I remember I created that page and I put these ugly pictures of myself, like almost like self-punishment. I can't remember when it was that I switched it and created, like, I was like, elegantly failed. That sounds so stupid, but that was what he called me. He would say, hey, cousin, elegantly filled, how are you? Like, it was just, anyways. So I changed the name to Big Fit Mom, got rid of those awful pictures. And what started happening was, as I gained interest in running, my feed started becoming curated with runners. That's what I was interested in, right? And then 2018, after I had that first run, I kind of kept running outside. And then I signed up for 4 races outside, and they were all trail races.
Were they 5Ks?
They were, no, Weeda, why would I do a 5K when I could just go big or go home, right? Normal people, runners are not normal people. They are obsessive compulsive.
True.
No. So no, I didn't do any 5K races. I signed up for 10Ks and then a couple of half marathons because there is no in between with me. That's part of the disorder, but we'll get to that in another, we'll get to that in another show. No, so I did probably about 10 races that year in 2018, but
Okay.
the really great thing that came across my feed one day was there was a married couple that had a family in Australia, and their names were Justin and Kate. And I remember, I don't know how they came across my feed, but I started following them, and then they wrote this thing underneath their profile picture, and it said run streak. So after every picture they posted, it would say run streak day number, whatever. And I was like, what is that? They had done 5 kilometers every day since, I don't know. I think at that time which was the end of 2018, they were at just over a year, because right now they're at day 1,800.
Wow.
2.5 years ago, yeah, they were at around maybe day 400 or 500. And when January 1st came around, 2019, I really loved the way running made me feel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the endorphins, and it just made me feel like I finished something. So January 1st, I asked a friend, I'm like, hey, do you want to go for a run with me on New Year's Day? And she's like, sure. So I did 5K that day. And during that run, that was when I had decided I'm going to do 5K every day for 2019.
Okay. It started 2019.
Started 2019.
And you got the idea from the couple.
I got the idea from them, because the definition of a runner's streak, according to Runner's World Magazine, is 1 mile every day.
Okay.
But what I did was I created my own rules.
Okay. Hey, why not?
Yeah, maybe I don't want to run one day. Maybe I want to walk. I am a larger lady. I'm 255 pounds. I'm like, if I run every single day, I might hurt myself. So I want to be able to have a day where I can walk that 5K. So I was like, my life, my rules.
That's right. Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong. And you do you. I did me. I am doing me. And so far, there were times where I did 5K in an airport. There were times where I did 5K in a hospital staircase.
Okay.
There were times when I did 5K in, on top of a ferry.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And what's funny about a ferry is, if any of your listeners ever have to do their run or walk on their ferries, you can't use your Garmin because it catches the speed of the ferry.
Oh yeah, it messes up. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I totally forgot that, because that makes sense. But I was like, shit, it thinks I'm going like 20 knots, and
And I have no idea how that calculates into miles.
I don't even know. It was so funny, but yeah, I've done it in very weird places. Not too weird, but I mean, airport, whatever.
Yeah.
Walking up and down while I was waiting for a flight. But yeah, I've made it work. It's become the level that brushing your teeth is for me. That's the level that it's at.
What day is today?
Today is day 958.
Okay, wow, amazing.
Yeah, 958, and it's like it was yesterday that I started. That's how fast it's gone. 2019 was super great because I was able to go to Seattle for the Seattle Marathon and travel to other cities and do races like in Vancouver. And then 2021, every single race that I had scheduled got canceled.
You mentioned that running changed your neuroplasticity and helped you heal a lot of trauma and anxiety. What do you mean by that?
For me personally, so, everybody is different, but when I started doing the 5K, the self-talk that we have going on in our brains is so powerful. It is.
It is.
It is crippling how powerful it can be. So when I started doing the 5K, the kinds of things that were going through my head were, what are you doing this for? What point do you think you're proving? What are you trying to prove? You're not going to finish. You're going to remain the same. Nothing is going to change about you. This is a waste of time. So those were the things that were running through my head. It started all around day 100. After my brain was like, I've had enough of this shit. Okay?
Yeah.
Stop this shit. What are you trying to prove? They became louder and louder and louder. I didn't stop though. There were moments where I was crying while I was on my walk, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to make or break me. And it was so lonely, Wida. Some days were so lonely. As you know, as an athlete, when you're training, it is lonely. Mm-hmm. What I started doing on the walks and the runs was I was listening to a ton of podcasts, here and there, and books. So one of the books that I saw on Audible was The Body Keeps Score.
Okay.
He talks about trauma. So as a child, I was physically punished a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what my parents knew. And my mom experienced her own trauma, which she only told me about at the age of 30. I want to say 35. I found out what happened to her, and it was awful.
Mm-hmm.
Something that she experienced as a 14-year-old that, she never should have, and she never got help for it. And then my dad, so these two people who had severe trauma married each other, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So something happened to my dad when he was 6. And so here are these people trying to raise these kids, and the only way they know how to show them security and safety is by hitting them. That was the trauma that I experienced. So this book, so I was very intrigued about trauma, and it wasn't a word that I casually threw around before I was like 43 or 44. It was just something that I kind of started learning about. Like, I always knew I was depressed and I had anxiety, but I didn't know why. I just thought something was wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
I was born with something missing, and I've been on medicine for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
That medicine has saved me. I was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive anxiety after I had my first child, and then again, no, after I had the second one, and then again after I had the fourth one.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew I had anxiety, and I had to take sertraline, which stopped those thoughts from ravaging
Mm-hmm.
and becoming vicious. And it has worked, which is probably one of the reasons I've been able to kind of get past my blockers. But anyhow, that book, The Body Keeps Score, he talks about 3 ways to heal trauma. 3 scientific, proven, medically documented ways. He's a doctor that had spoken to, from people who were Army veterans to, children that had been taken away from parents. Like, so the book is a Bible in that whole industry. But so the 3 ways are, first one is therapy counseling, which I had tried. The second way is medicine, because there are some people who just, schizophrenia and chemical imbalance. I had a chemical imbalance. Third way, which was what stopped me in my tracks. And I'll never forget the day it stopped me in my tracks as I was walking, and I had to stop and replay what he said. To use the body to have visceral experiences that contradict the helplessness and rage you feel.
I like that.
And I was like, holy shit. This is what I've been doing. I've been using my body to have visceral experiences that contradict my helplessness and rage.
I like it.
And
I love it. Yes, I like the way you explain that.
every time I was finishing a 5K, that completion started to become ingrained deeper and deeper and deeper in me. Just like every time somebody says, you're an idiot, you're a loser, you're worthless, what happens with that? It becomes ingrained deeper and deeper and deeper into your visceral makeup of your body. So the opposite can happen if you do something that builds your confidence, like a walk or a run or even 20 push-ups a day. So that was the first thing that changed my life and helped me to continue to do the 5K. The second book was James Clear's Atomic Habits. And in an interview that I watched with him on YouTube, he said that every time you do something that brings you closer to the identity that you want to have, you cast a vote for who you are. So every time I did my 5K, it cast a vote, not for a runner, or it cast a vote for me personally, that I was a completer.
That you're a winner.
That I'm a winner. That I complete shit. That I get it done. And that blew my mind. Those 2 things changed me deeply. 2021 rolled around. And I thought, I'm going to start a new habit. Okay, let me tell you what happened with that.
Okay.
Yeah. And here's another very important piece of the puzzle about our bodies, which I did not know, Wida. I did not know this. I thought it's been 2 years. I got this shit. I got this. I'm a pro now. I can do anything. Well, there was this kid on Instagram. He goes by MB Bullock or something like that. He's like in Texas. He's 14 years old. Okay. And, he started this challenge in 2020. It was 20 burpees every day in 2020.
Okay.
And somehow this came across my feed and I was like, okay, I can do that. I'm going to do 21 burpees in 2021. Well, my body wanted to sabotage that and said, fuck you. You are not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what? And the reason I explain it like that is because my body had physical reactions to me doing these burpees, even though I had done 5K for what, 365 days times 2, 730 days.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what the hell is going on? I did them. It was so painful and so, it was awful. The first 14 days of doing 21 burpees every day.
Mm-hmm.
The messages going through my head. What are you trying to prove, lady? Like, what are you trying to prove? Okay, we already gave you the 5K day. Don't think that you can add another habit on this body without us putting up a fight. Okay, I'll get to the point. I listened to another podcast from Rich Roll. He had Huberman Lab, Andrew Huberman, scientist at the University of Stanford. So, University of Stanford, scientist of neuroplasticity. So freaking interesting. So, Andrew Huberman and Rich Roll on YouTube. Okay. And after about a half an hour into the interview, he talks about how, and this is, I did not know this, the body is not controlled by the brain. The body is controlled by the nervous system. The nervous system will do absolutely anything to protect you from fear.
True.
Or things that they believe are
harmful. Yep.
Are harmful. Mm-hmm. So, and the way you know that it's doing that is the physical reaction that you will have to starting anything new. Mm-hmm. Why were we not taught this in school? Because if we had been taught this in school, most of us wouldn't have thought we were losers growing up. Mm-hmm. And it was at that moment that my brain calmed down. I've been doing the burpees ever since. So it's been 220 days of 21 burpees every day. It's amazing what I've learned on this journey. It is about my capacity of what I've been able to achieve as a human, mm-hmm. as a mom, what I want to pass down to my kids, what I want to show them. You know, the person who I was even 10 years ago, losing my shit, throwing stuff all over the house, it just wasn't good. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to stay like that. I just didn't know how I was going to change. Mm-hmm. And I guess for me, I had to go through this journey, 958 days of it. Maybe there was a shorter way. I don't know. But I would never want to redo it or change any of it because it has made me who I am today. And you know, I've talked about this on a number of other podcasts with people. I kind of think that there are a few different groups of people in this world, and there's the people who were very fortunate that their parents raised them and they listened to their parents, but that they were raised in a way where they did as they were told. went to school. Then when they finished school, they went to university, and they had that foundation of completing a degree.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then there's the people who didn't have that luxury
Mm-hmm.
or didn't go through that journey where their self-confidence was built by achieving something big like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm an immigrant's child. I wasn't given that. My parents have a grade 5 education. We had an outhouse
Mm-hmm.
up until 1990.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we moved to Canada in 1982, but back home at that farm where I was born.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what I want to say is that I probably needed to go through something like this. This was my school, if you know what I mean. Like, you know how there's people who go through the school of hard knocks or like a school that teaches you something. This has taught me something.
So the streak changed your life.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. Every day going out there doing my 5 kilometers, no matter what the weather was, rain, freezing temperatures, that changed me and it just changed my mental health. And that's the most important thing in all of this is my mental health.
So the streak was cheaper than therapy for you. Like running is cheaper than therapy for me.
Well, it's actually really expensive, but just those damn shoes. See?
Yeah.
Damn. You know how many shoes I go through a year? But no,
yeah,
it's
a
true.
lot.
It's
But
still
yeah.
cheaper than therapy.
Yeah.
Still cheaper than therapy. And I probably got way more out of this. My cardiovascular, my heart health, all that stuff for sure. But yes, you know what I'm saying.
Yes, I do.
I'm so grateful that I've been able to do this, like that I found this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so grateful that this came my way. I'm so lucky. I'm fortunate. There's so many people who don't end up finding something like this that recharges them and gives them birth, lets them become reborn.
Season 3, we will continue the new segment called Ask the Doc. If you have any questions related to musculoskeletal injuries or musculoskeletal health, go to my website, www.weouilove.com. Click on the tab Voicemail, leave your voicemail, and select Messages will be aired and answered on the segment. Now, back to the show. So, racing. Do you enjoy racing?
I do, only because of the swag.
Do you like the medals and the t-shirts and the other stuff?
Oh yeah, I like to fill up my bag with all the free food.
What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite race?
Okay, I do. And this is partially because I haven't been to very many outside of my province races, but I love the Seawees Lululemon race in Vancouver because it is a 3-day event. And they also have their own little shop. They also have their own collection of clothes that they only specifically put in that store on that race weekend. You can't get it anywhere else. So it's very cute and it's a great experience. The second race that I love the most is the Seattle Marathon because that was my first marathon and I'm an ambassador for them. Also because it's a big city, but it's not I think it's less than 10,000 people, but it feels small.
Okay.
It's a very personal race. Like it's not, like the Chicago Marathon or the New York City Marathon. I can't imagine.
Like 40,000. Yeah.
Yeah. No. This is, there's still bread waiting for you with soup at the end of the race.
Nice.
Yes. Yes. Even if you finish at 7.5 hours, there is still bread and soup waiting for you and a couple bananas.
That's good. Well, New York, I think New York, even though if you don't finish at a certain time, your name's not in the paper. I think you have to finish in 4.5, which my name is not in the paper. But the crowd support is awesome. Even for the back of the packer people. People are there to greet you. Even some of the professional runners are like at the end cheering you on at the finish line. So it's really
Mm.
great crowd support.
It's definitely on my bucket list.
Yes.
What year did you do it?
17. I was almost crying, but you have to look good for the camera. At the end, I was like, get yourself together. Because I was hurting so bad in the race. I was like, get yourself together so you can smile at the end. Yeah.
Grit your teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It looked
Oh,
like
you
I'm
know.
running, even though it was like hobbling. But yeah, I was hobbling at the end.
Squeeze the butt cheeks.
Yeah. So what got you into doing triathlons?
You know, the Instagram feed I was talking about that I curated for me personally is just full of, you know, different athletes and different types of athletes. And so I had a friend who was doing, she did the Whistler half Ironman.
Mm-hmm.
That year that she did the half Ironman, I decided to sign up for the Olympic distance triathlon in my city here in Kelowna. I don't know how to swim, so I had to learn how to swim. It was very, very painful.
Mm-hmm.
The paddle boards kept circling me and asking me, "Are you okay? Are you going to make it?" I was like, "Yep." So an hour and 10 minutes later for a 1.5 kilometer swim, so less than a mile, that's how long it took me. Because the mistake I made was I did not, so that for the open water swim, the mistake I made was I trained in shallow lake water. I didn't train in deep, dark water. So when I got to the swim, I look in the water, I was like, holy shit, it's black.
Yeah.
I cannot see in this water. That was it. I'm not putting my head under the water. So I swam like this the whole mile.
You made it. You made
I
it.
made it.
That's what counts.
That's what counts. And
That's what
so,
counts.
yes.
Because my first year of trying, I freaked out every single race. In the first race, I was the very last person. The kayak guy was next to me. I'm like, am I the last person? He's like, you are. Keep going. You're going to finish, though. Keep going. Like, okay.
Keep going.
He's like, keep going.
If my life depends on it, you're going to finish, lady.
And one race I did, I swam like maybe like 5 strokes, and I looked up and did like a doggy paddle. By the end of the race, my neck was hurting because I kept looking up.
Yes. Yes, you're like, yeah. Oh.
But you finished.
But I finished the race, finished the swim, and peed in my tri suit.
Right up.
So, you know, and I can't wait to do a half Ironman. I love the distance of running a half marathon. I'm pretty good on the bike. It's just the swim. So I'll just keep working on it. The triathlon that I had signed up for in July got canceled. And then the one in August I didn't go to because there were some conflicts with my work. I'll do it next year. It's definitely a huge accomplishment when you can finish your first half Ironman. I mean, how many have you done?
I did 2, and I did 1 full. But Louisville, the swim was canceled, so I wanted to do another one. But 2020 and a whole bunch of injuries. So next year, hopefully to Canada, maybe that'll be my next one.
Oh, that'll be so great. And it's such a beautiful course too with the lake. So I really hope to see you here next year.
That'd be wonderful. With social media and mainstream media, and I saw this on your blog, kind of like perception versus reality. And with the media and mainstream, it's like the perception that you have to be quote unquote perfect to be a runner. You have to be quote unquote perfect to be any type of athlete. And quote perfect is like the way you look. You have to look a certain way, and there's no like one look, and there's no like one. You're not like, oh, I'm not a runner because I don't look this way. I'm not a runner because I don't run a 7-minute mile. I'm not a runner because it's like you kind of define what you want to be. It doesn't have to be what quote unquote mainstream media says it's supposed to be.
I feel sorry for our younger generation because they don't know what's ahead of them and they're going to have to figure it out. But for me personally, at 46 years old, at this age right now, I don't give a shit about what Runner's World magazine says or what Women's Running magazine says. I hate those publications, and I've made several videos about them.
Yes.
I think they're a disgrace to the athlete because they portray themselves as representing Runner's World and women's running. Instead, they should rename their publication to Elite Runner's World and Elite Women's Running, because call it what it is. But aside from that, and I think probably most people feel that way about them. And I mean, to this day, Runner's World still has that stupid article in the back of the magazine where it features the person who is before they started running to lose weight, and then their after picture after they started running to lose weight, the before and after. So running has this bad rap about it's only for losing weight, right? You only get into it for losing weight. You don't get into running because you love running, right? At least the majority of people. But all I want to say about social media is that if you think that you have to look a certain way, you have to run at a certain speed, then people are setting themselves up for failure. It's kind of like a double-edged sword. A lot of women don't realize that they just have to start, but then a lot of them don't start.
They're intimidated.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And that's why more people have to keep showing up to show women that this space has room for everyone. And that the more of us that show up, the better we're doing for everybody else.
True.
Like, just put on your shoes and start walking.
Yes.
And get out there. And then eventually, after you're comfortable walking, you're going to start running. I have a 5 o'clock shadow. Okay. I have shit my pants. All right. That is a true runner, not a size whatever and a under 10-minute mile. A true runner is anybody who has running shoes on and they're running outside. Just because I don't look a certain way doesn't mean I'm not a runner or an athlete. I train like an athlete, therefore I am an athlete.
True. I had a Dr. Gina Meyer on my podcast. She has a program called Rise Resolute Connect, and one of her sayings is, "Every woman has a runner within."
Yes. Oh, I love that. That should be tattooed on all of us.
Yes. If you don't start, it's like you fail before you even get to the start line. So, I mean, go, if you want to do it, try it. I mean, and even if you don't run, walk. And if you don't, there's other things to do. Cycle. Just do something you love. Don't be intimidated by what people say it's supposed to be, or you're supposed to look a certain way or whatever.
That's right. It's almost like somebody out there has the audacity to take the joy from us of what we are entitled to. We are entitled to feel the joy of movement. And these publications have the audacity to say that you don't fit this look, therefore you're not that thing. That is so wrong.
It is. There's something else I saw on your blog, some sayings, which I think set us all up for failure. One, you said, do your homework. If you do, you'll get a good job, be happy, and you'll never be depressed. So it's like internally you'll think that if you're depressed, something is wrong with you.
It's interesting that you mention that, because in today's society, there's no way you cannot feel a little bit of sadness here and there. Look at the access to information that we have now that we didn't have 30 years ago. Not only that, but our children are, I remember 30 years ago, I was in grade 10, and when I finished school, I came home and nobody bothered me. Now, when you finish school, you come home your bullies or kids or people, they're still bothering you because they have access to you. They don't stand a chance.
Mm-hmm. And another thing on your blog, eat fewer calories and exercise, and you'll be thin and you'll never be sad.
What? I wrote that?
These are things that are myths, fairy tales on your blog. Reality versus fairy tale.
Oh, okay. I was like,
so these are things that you should not, but people tell you these like you to be
right.
thin
Yes,
and to be
yes, yes.
happy. Yes.
That's right. That was what my mother used to say. Yes. Yes. She used to say, if you are thin or if you look a certain way, then you will have access to a certain life. And that's not true because I have been thin and I was not happy because happiness doesn't come from a physical state. Happiness comes from an act of satisfaction that you have achieved by doing something over and over and over and over again. So whether it be going to university, for example, for somebody creates a certain happiness when they're finished because they have done something over and over and over again to achieve that milestone, which brings them a certain happiness. And so for me, being thin never brought me happiness. It brought me more insecurity. But with my 5K a day, that brought me happiness because it was the achievement of something over and over and over again.
This is another perception. So if you're happy, you'll get a man, which I know for a fact that's not the case.
Yes, it's so funny how there's this generation of parents that raised our generation to think that if you get a man, you have it all made. And that's just not the case either. There's this other book that I read. It's called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyways. And in this book, they break down your life to like 12 squares, right? Each of the 12 squares represent, one represents maybe family, religion, friends, job, hobby, interests, health, love, etc. So if love or your relationship with a man takes up 80% of that block and then it's gone, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So all these other areas of your life need to create equal components that then complement who you are. And so unfortunately, when I met my husband, he was my 80%. Mm-hmm. So I didn't learn anything. And in fact, there were days where my mom said to me, I can't believe you landed that guy.
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, you're so lucky. I can't believe you found him. I'm like, and just when people like say stuff like that to you, you're like, oh, well then maybe something bad's going to happen. Oh, so you're saying that it's not going to last. Mm-hmm. Becoming skinny and then finding a man, those are preconceived perceptions that young people have had put into their brains by an older generation that they themselves did not have anybody to show them how to create satisfaction in their life that comes from within.
Mm-hmm. Another one, never pursue crazy ideas.
Oh yeah, that's so wrong. You should always pursue crazy ideas.
The crazier, the better.
That's right. That's right. So you don't live a life of
what ifs.
What ifs. So you don't live a life of feeling like you missed out.
So another thing I found on your blog, these are good. Number of friends does not validate worth.
Oh God, I wish I knew that. A long time ago I would have, oh man, the amount of chasing I did of friends thinking that it validated oh my God. I spent my whole life chasing people because unfortunately my parents just didn't know how to teach me to value myself. So I thought that if I surrounded myself with a certain number of people, then I was valuable. So wrong. Now I try and push people away. I'm like, get the away from me.
Yes. Quality versus quantity.
That's right. It's so right. Oh.
Another one, inspire yourself first, then others.
That's right. One good thing my mom did teach me, I mean, my mom is a wonderful, big-hearted lady. Those are the only tools she had.
Yeah.
And she came from a mom who gave birth to 11 children. And then her husband had to go to Germany to work because there was no work in our country. So she was left with these 11 children.
Yeah.
If you look for inspiration in others, you are always going to be void there's always going to be an emptiness inside you. Whereas if you try and inspire yourself first with a love for something, a hobby, a passion, you're going to radiate this light, and then you will attract others to your table.
I agree. And one last one, time stops for no one.
No, it doesn't. It does not stop for no one. These last 958 days would have happened either way. So either way, if I had decided to do the 5K a day or if I had not, 958 days would have passed.
True.
So what is better? Is it better to do something because time is not going to stop for you anyways and it's going to fly by? Or is it better to not do anything?
But like Nike says, just do it.
Just do it.
If you were to go back and give yourself advice at a young age, what would you tell yourself?
Oh my God. I have no idea. No, I'm just kidding. That's such a hard question. I don't even know if she would have listened to me because, sometimes we have to get burned by the stove to learn that it's hot, right? So I probably would have told her, no matter how hard it is, to finish a degree. It's the one big thing I regret. Because even if you never use that degree, it's still a bartering tool for something. Or maybe go back later and do it, but just, 30, 40, whatever. And the second thing I would have said to her was find a passion. Find something that lights the fire inside you and just keep doing it. No matter what's going on in your life, just keep doing that.
Great advice. Great advice. Any last minute words of inspiration for my listeners?
So my last minute words and inspiration are, whatever your story is, somebody wants to hear it. And that story that you share with other people will be somebody's guiding light in their darkness. The more people that share stories, the more people will come out of darkness.
I agree, and I love it. You never know what people are going through, and you never know what they need to hear to help them. Mm-hmm.
Yes, especially at a certain point in their life where they're willing to give up. And if they hear a certain story that resonates with them, that might be just that right push that they need to change the trajectory of what's happening with them right then.
Well, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Ida. It was a pleasure.
That wraps up this episode of Running is Cheaper Than Therapy podcast. Thank you for tuning in. If you already haven't, please download Running is Cheaper Than Therapy podcast on Apple, Spotify, or however you listen to your favorite podcast. If you have any questions, concerns, or possible show topics, please email runningischeaperthan.therapy, OLB, Omaha Love Brown. Again, that's runningischeaperthan.therapy, Omaha Love Brown @gmail.com. I also can be reached via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Handle We Life, We Love. OUI Life, OUI Love. Thank you, and please tune in again.